Well, welcome back everyone to our online program, and we've been talking about addiction as it is portrayed in the media, particularly with this opioid crisis as it's been called. And there is a tendency when I look at the media stuff to see that, and it's often unspoken by the way, to sort of blame the addiction on the addicted person. That's it's sort of stop there, and that's all we're going to look at is the addicted person. In British Columbia, which is where the opioid crisis is the most severe, at least in Canada, uh, journalists often hasten to this place called the Downtown East Side, which is the poorest postal code in Canada and well known for lots of drug use, particularly opioids. And many people down there are overdosing and dying. And they interview these people and they talk about them, but it's kind of curious because the portrayal of that is presented of someone with an addiction or someone who uses fentanyl is someone who's underprivileged, undereducated, and underemployed. And often they come from a very traumatic background. And this is used to explain why these people are using this drug, these opioid drugs, versus regular people aren't. But it's kind of curious that in some cases when they present a regular person, to use their term, such as, for example, a vice president who died of a fentanyl overdose, a vice president of a university who died of a fentanyl overdose, they don't really make sense of it other than they just mention it. And not just in British Columbia, in, say, Connecticut or perhaps New Hampshire, where typical middle-class people are overdosing on fentanyl. The journalists don't really probe into that. It's more that typically they'll just quote the parents who want more compassion for people who are suffering from addiction. But still, there's this underlying thing that there's going to be something about these people who are overdosing, and this idea that, you know, they're more like the downtown east side kind of people. They're more like the underprivileged people who, and they're the ones who are really getting trapped, not like us normal people. And when we discover like the normal people are overdosing, then it's like the press is interestingly silent on why this might be. Anyway, it's kind of an interesting observation. But again, it's this idea of, well, let's just blame the addicted person for the problem. Anyway, that's this episode, and we'll be back next time with another episode.